Do you feel Delphi acted responsibly?
No, our
under all
our product met the requirements of the customer.
So no responsibility?
No.
None. All right. Mr. Valukas, I understand there was a sharing agreement with Delphi that wasn't as forthcoming as you would have liked it to have been. Do you think the limited information that you received from Delphi and their employees prevented you from providing a complete report?
No, I believe at this point, having had the chance to, with the extra 6 weeks or month that's involved here and looking at what we have in the way of materials so far, I think our report is complete. I'm comfortable that this aspect, the Delphi aspect of it, that we have that information.
Is there anything that we don't know that's relevant?
No, I promised and committed to an earlier committee that if we found something different, I've told the board of directors, and they directed me that if there was anything factually that we learned that would in any way alter the report or add to it in a significant way, that we would supplement the report. And I would make that commitment to this committee. But right now, I believe that everything that we could know about this issue, we put forth in that report or in a supplemental letter.
Do you feel that Delphi shoulders any responsibility?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do you feel that Delphi shoulders any responsibility of the 13 deaths?
That's a legal, I can tell you this. I can tell you that we, General Motors, approved the switch knowing that it was below torque values. And that was an approval that Mr. DiGiorgio gave to Delphi, and Delphi manufacturers switched in accordance with that approval.
Ms. Barra, do you believe that Delphi shoulders any responsibility of the 13 deaths?
We're the OEM. We're the company that's responsible to integrate the parts into the vehicle, so it's our responsibility.
What about the legal obligation to inform the board of directors? Were they aware that your lawyers were telling you this car was going to cause you punitive damages?
They were not.
And what about financial reserves? Were you entering into the books the financial reserves necessary to cover this liability, which is your obligation as the general counsel?
We were not entering any reserves to cover punitive damages. No, we were not.
Okay, so I don't get how you and Lucy Clark Doherty still have your jobs. Can you explain that to me? Ms. Barra, I think you've done a lot of good work since you took over. I think you've handled this, as I said in my opening statement, with courage and conviction, have stepped forward. I cannot for the life of me. This is either gross negligence or gross incompetence on the part of a lawyer. The notion that he can say, I didn't know.
Senator McCaskill, I respectfully disagree. As you know, I have made the promise to fix what happened in the company to make sure that we are dedicated to safety, that we're dedicated to excellence. We are well on our way. We've made significant change. To do that, I need the right team. And Mike Milliken is a man of incredibly high integrity. He has tremendous global experience as it relates to the legal profession. He's the person I need on this team. He had a system in place. Unfortunately, in this instant, it wasn't brought to his attention, frankly, by people who brought many other issues forward. He is a man of high integrity, and he is
So
the
there
right
wasn't a
person.
system in place that your lawyers telling you you're subject to punitive damages didn't get to your desk? How is that not incompetent? How can you not have a system in place that you, or at least Lucy Clark Doherty, has a way of telling you, we now have our lawyers telling us 4 different times within a couple of years on something you hadn't even talked about recalling, punitive damages. How do you have a system in place that doesn't account for that?
We had very senior lawyers who had this information and didn't bring it forward, who are no longer with this company.
Typically, the bar to overcome a bankruptcy decision as to what claims are discharged is difficult to overcome because you have to show that there was fraud. And that's a high bar in the law. On the other hand, it seems hollow, I think, to many of these victims' families that just because their loved one was at a certain age or at a certain income level, General Motors will really never feel the brunt of what punitive damages are designed to do, and that is to penalize a corporation for exactly the kind of conduct that was present at General Motors. I'm sure you acknowledge this is a very difficult decision for these families.
I do acknowledge that. Now, of course, you and I can agree that if a claimant decides that 100% compensation leaves open the question of a punitive damage verdict against GM, there will certainly be some lawyers and some claimants who will opt to seek punitive damages. So it's not as if a claimant who comes into this fund and decides to accept full compensation, it's not as if there is no option for somebody else to go and seek those punitive damages. I think one way or the other, your hypothetical is true, Senator. Somebody is certainly going to go after GM for punitive damages. It just under the hypothetical wouldn't be this claimant who decides I want 100% of this money right now. No one has to come into this program. And if they do come into the program, we will determine their eligibility, and if they're eligible, the amount of compensation. And only, as with 9/11, as you know, only after they know what it is they'll receive, how generous it is, only then do they agree to waive going to court in order to receive this money. And there is no appeal from my determination, and GM cannot reject our final determination. They have agreed in advance to abide by any final decision that is made.